All right, cross your fingers. It looks like I got audio. Stream is going. I think we're on. Make sure. I think we're good. So, welcome to Evidence-Based Audio number 157, and this is More Than a Feeling. So, first of all, I got some new stunt glasses. You know, my regular ones that I ride, they're single vision, whatever. I know this is so boring, but I can't actually use the same ones for computers as driving around or whatever. So I'm trying progressive lenses. I'm trying to read. It's a little bit shaky on me here. But I did do a pretty decent downhill run on my bike with these things on, and it forced me to get used to progressive lenses really fast. But if you guys got any tricks, because it's still tricky for me. Like, I find myself moving my head a lot. So if there's something I'm supposed to know, please let me know, because but this makes it so much easier. I can drive with these on, which again, I probably should slow down on learning that. But anyway, so we got stunt glasses, and yeah, they're a little bit easier to see than these other ones, but these are a lot more I don't worry about them breaking. These ones are pretty robust. Well, like I said, I'm in with both feet, so we'll see. First of all, I got this video from John Mike, and he says, a real warning to all of my producers, musicians, and engineers about updating the Mac OS Monterey. Don't do it. Please don't update to Mac OS Monterey, musicians, producers, engineers. So this was September of 2021. It's probably just as true as it ever was, but I've got a Mac with the Monterey on it right here, and I'm learning how to deal with it, but it's pretty crazy. The amount of stuff that breaks every time Apple blinks, it seems like to me, it's terrifying. And this is just good advice, whatever, though. If you don't, I'm kind of an early adopter, so I'm guilty of jumping in. I still don't have Windows 11 on anything, though. But if you got a working system and you got working clients coming in an hour, you probably don't want to update stuff. And it's just good advice. I think this guy's rightfully a little bit upset about stuff, and but we're actually as far as I know, our stuff's working on Monterey. So I've been trying it. I've been trying it in Pro Tools, Reaper, everything. But yeah, good advice, man. So this guy says, I've had to learn the hard way to wait to update Mac OS when a new version is released. It's always best to run a version behind. Apple does always implement the latest technology, but developers of vital software don't always keep up. Real good to blame the software guys. Apple can do something overnight that just completely destroys your ability to use products. It's not the developers' fault. The developers weren't the ones who broke the stuff. I mean, if it's some kind of sea change and everybody has to change because it's a new type of thing, fine. But you don't see this crap in Windows. I mean, I think there were a couple things that didn't make it to Windows 10 from Windows 7, but not much. And software-wise, it's all there. I mean, you guys, maybe you can point me to something that's not, but I'm pretty sure anything you're going to use for working that you could run on Windows 7, you're going to be running on Windows 10. These products are there for a long time. I know Microsoft is starting to add that paranoid craziness, code signing and stuff, and we have to deal with it. It sucks, but it's still not that bad. But I assume Windows is going to get that bad, like Tim Gray said. So we'll see. Okay. Next thing is, you guys know how much I love Focusrite, but there were a couple people talking. Let me read the original post here. I hope this is the right one. Okay, hold on. Let me get the alerts out of the way. Yeah, this is it. So he said, so when getting back my 8 Pre-X from Focusrite service repaired for a broken optical input, I never touched these other than initial setup. Plugging into the awaiting Octoprix below, it, too, suffered the same fate. Optical cable won't connect and falls out. Both lights up Both lights light up. Both flimsy garage door protectors are broken. No more than 2 to 3 inserts and removals from the initial installation. And by the flimsy garage door protector, I think you might know it's like a little flap that goes inside in these things. They always break. Actually, yeah, some things don't break. Let's see. Without shipping it back and spending another ton of time waiting, am I just trying to use cheap consumer gear and getting what I deserve? Should I just sell the 2 working units, 8 pre-X and a second octapre, and just get a pro converter that deals with D-sub cables and outboard pre's? It's more than I want to lose and spend at the moment, but my studio, one of the only relaxation releases, has been out of service for a month. I can probably get by with just the 2 devices, not miking up my drum kit the way I do, but I'd really like at least 24 discrete connections to have drums, bass, guitar, keyboard, sub, mixer, etc. connected without having to make changes. Yes, ergonomics, man. Are these optical connectors always so fragile? I had 6 ADATs for years and never ran into this, but physically, believe it or not, they were more robustly built. That's true. Do I own some cheap Chinese-made crap dressed up as pro gear? Pick attached. Do you think I can just open it and align it to work? Okay, first of all, just about everything's going to be Chinese, so there's nothing you can do about it, and that's just what you're going to get. You can look at any of mine. Mine are all broken, but they work. They just don't hold on to the cable. This bottom one is crazy. Like, that's funny that it actually fell out like that. I've actually never seen that happen. I've seen all sorts of problems from these things, but I haven't actually seen that part fall out with the light like that. That's crazy. I would open it up and try and realign it, honestly. I've got a bunch of these octapres for cheap because the power supplies went out, and Focusrite sold me new power supplies for them, and now I've got some extra ones. But I mean, everything's gonna be made in China, man. I mean, there's almost no way to avoid it. This is weird. This is really weird. I think Focusrite should do something for you about this. Yeah, the garage door opener things just break right off. That's normal. I almost wonder if you have some weirdo ADAT cable that's pushing through there or something. Ouch. And these look like the newer ones that have both word in and out too, which is sad because I haven't actually had problems with those ones. But even mine, when they don't hold on, they do connect. That one where it fell apart. Yeah, that's why I said the octapres are pretty bad for this as well, sadly. Somebody said, I've never had an issue with mine, and I've had it at least 7 or 8 years. Moved it across the country too, no issues. So lucky, some people get real lucky with this stuff. But I said, and this is my experience here. I've installed dozens of these. Personally, have 5 of the Mark IIs and 3 of the Dynamics. I also have some of the newer ones. I have some of the newest non-dynamic units as well, and have yet to have an issue with those. And super thankful for the non-idiotic word clock in and out on the newest. You guys know we did a couple shows about that kind of thing. But then the chip shortage happened. I always hot glue the ADAT cables in at this point just to be safe. It's not an unknown issue if you contact Focusrite. I still use these when I can, as they still often have the best feature set for what a lot of customers are doing. For the ones who don't mind the Behringer name, the 8200s are doing pretty good, but aren't always a direct replacement. I have a chart. I think we talked about this on the air before, but I have a chart with these type of things in them. It's a non-interface 8-channel mic pre to ADAT. It's a chart with all these things on it. I'll add more if you guys see any that I'm missing, by the way. Like I say, we often use these because they have exactly the right features, but hot glue. I'm not kidding. I hot glue everything around here. So, I mean, I'm kind of guilty of being a little bit too aggressive with the hot glue, I'm sure. But yeah, I have a chart that has a lot of these in. Let me know if there's ones on there that you think should be on there that we're not seeing. Okay, so this one there was a post about high-res audio. Again, people are always saying they can claim, oh, if you had really good ears, you're going to hear this thing. It's always that claim. If you had the ears, you would hear it. And yet when you test these people, they ABX the same. And somebody showed, THD matters, right? The total harmonic distortion, or however that thing. Man, Ethan Weiner's probably going to laugh at me. But I went and I found some measurements of the first generation Focusrite 2i2s, the ones everybody complains about. And it's like 120 dBs down there. I don't see how in any sane circumstances you'd be worried about it. And, I think I always say when it comes to these kind of things, I'm in before the God of the Gaps, because that's what's going to happen. Just like Tonewood or whatever else, you're going to have these God of the Gaps arguments, and they're coming. So I like to pretend I'm psychic and predict them, but we just they're coming. There's no way around them. So the THC is way, 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 way down there. So let's see. I like this. This is from Jackie Treehorn. And I could post a graph of a test tone through a tube triode mic pre at high gain and get a lot of second, third, more THD, and you wouldn't hear it either. THD doesn't tell you anything about quality. I don't know. We can talk about that. But in the end, somebody says square waves don't have much concern over sample rates and bit depth, just like the average listener isn't concerned about anything happening at minus 125 dB full scale. This was in a response where they're saying that, a lot of the guys who really have these really expensive converters and everything, they also don't like Loudness Wars albums. So they're not as compressed anyway. Let me see where we go. And I said this plus 1,000, whatever. Most DAWs have in them or a plugin available to them to change the bit depth in real time. So I'm just saying like some kind of plugin where you can change it from whatever the 24 bit or whatever, and keep ratcheting down the sound less and less bits. I think a lot of people will be surprised that with most modern pop or metal or Jesus rock or whatever, you can safely go to 8 or even less bits and not be able to ABX the difference unless the song has a super quiet part. If I wasn't worried about getting DMCA'd here, I would play some sort of song and I would pull the bit depth down on it so you can see this. But I'm not about to lose my channel again, and I just got out of Facebook jail. They'll throw me right back in. So sorry, but again, censorship is keeping science from happening, which I know I harp on about, but it's a very touchy subject of mine. Okay, and what else am I? Okay, so this was there was a thread about the 2013 interview where Boston's Tom Schultz got a lot of stuff very wrong about digital audio. And, the regular God of the Gaps thing, again, goes and happens. And you guys know what a fan I am of Tom Schultz, and actually built 2 studios for his drummer. But, wrong is wrong. But what I really like is this post, and this is something we brought up before, especially with guitar players compared to bass players, but this is from Creative 360 over at the Gear page. It says, I once read a very brief interview with Tom Schultz where he said his issue with digital was that since he owned a vintage Burst, a vintage Marshall, and great recording gear, the whole home recording convenience aspect of digital didn't really apply. Getting tones the old way was actually easier for him. Makes sense. At the time I read that, it seemed reasonable. And that's been the primary resistance to digital guitar stuff that you'll hear from all the notable producers that I'm friends with. They shrug and say, does it sound better? From their point of view, what's the benefit of a lateral move? I know there's a million things you could say to that, but in a lot of cases where it's just Les Paul through a Marshall, there's no point in them changing what works. As a recording medium, it's going to end up on digital, whether they like it or not. That's a whole nother funny Dunning-Kruger thing. So he continues, that's why I'm always rooting for sound designers to step up and advance the guitar tone palette versus simply mastering the vintage legacy tones, which has been basically already been done. Of course, there's going to be a giant God of the Gaps argument there, but it's true. And there have been many forward-thinking, revolutionary guitar gear people. I mean, I think about Digitech, ART, guys like that. They may get nailed, and people kind of fight back because they just want the vintage crap. But I think there's a lot of us who appreciate the new stuff. Sorry, I'm messing with these. There's like these pads things that I'm trying out on the sides, and they're kind of digging into my eyeball. So I don't think I'm going to keep them on there. Anyway, sorry. But there have been people who advance the cause of guitar, but a lot of times the customers don't want them, sadly. Let's see, continues. That legacy stuff has been a boon for any of us who can't justify $25,000 worth of vintage amplifiers, but it shouldn't be the end of the tone conversation. And for the producers with holy grail amp collections that cover all the bases and all the outboard gear rock stars dream about, there has to be compelling sonic creative reasons to ditch the analog stuff since it works so well. Not just the analog stuff, but there seems to be a digital plateau where it's okay. If it was in a Bradshaw board in that era, so SPX 90, PCM, like the Lexicon stuff, the PCM 60s, TC Electronics, what would they have back then? A couple things. The Eventide DSP HD H3000. So somehow that stuff's all okay, but you know, there's free plugins right now that absolutely blow away the tracking and sound on that on the H3000's harmonizer, and they're faster. So there are things that have been upgraded, but it's really weird. Like it's like they want this vintage digital as well. So he continues, will it happen? Who knows? I say, why not? I'm not sure it'll be in its own box like a Bluesbreaker 1962 or a Deluxe, but it's not so hard to imagine an amp with a name created by a person, but digitally, that may only exist in a computer or plug-in. That's not exactly what we've heard before. I think that's already happening. And think about something like, you know, I talk about the Helix and those kind of devices a lot. I know they mostly put in vintage stuff, but they do it in a way that you couldn't have done without, even with the Bradshaw board, you couldn't have done. There's types of control and routing and stuff. But yeah, you know, I like when people make new things too, you know, and Line 6 actually did make like a couple new amp things. Regarding limitations of digital today, as an owner of great amps, great plugins, and a Kemper, my sense is that it's the person dialing in the tone, not a deficit in the potential of current devices and plugins that a tone snob might notice, and really probably won't, and maybe claim as proof of analog supremacy, whether it's true or not. Meanwhile, sure, great amps, great microphones, preamps, great rooms, sweet consoles, and sometimes even tape, at least for compression and two-track mix, and obviously good players is still a wonderful way to make records. And that's why we talk about this a lot. You know, bass players have no problem with composite instruments, you know, like graphite necks or strong stuff. Why are we using wood on guitars, man? It's heavy, it's weak, and it's rare, and we need as many trees as we can to be the lungs of this planet. So let's get off of the wood stuff, please. And you know, I know it's not exactly what he's talking about, but again, I like working on effects that haven't been done before. So I'm hoping to do some cool things with guitar, or maybe they've been done, but not really as for guitars, you know, whatever. Let's keep moving forward. The technology didn't stop in 1960 or 1990 or whatever. Keep moving. Let's keep going. Let's see. Okay. So one more thing. I had to set up for a roundtable discussion that we're probably going to be talking about soon, which would be cool. And I always heard, you know, how many shows do we talk about how hard it is to route stuff between Windows apps and, you know, audio, how to get audio from your DAW into your streaming software, into Skype, into Zoom, whatever. And everybody always say, oh, just get a Mac, just get a Mac, just get a Mac, just get a Mac. They do it magically. And, you know, well, of course I knew that wasn't true because I sat there watching all these forum posts about how you couldn't do it on there either. But it turns out, okay, so first of all, just like that other video was saying, don't update your OS, Monterey seems to have broken one of the working ones that was free, but the ones that allegedly work, but I'm not really sure because I still really need to try them. They're all pay. So as bad as the Windows one is, at least Virtual Audio Cable is free. I'm sure there's a couple others, but the ones that everybody seems to recommend on Mac, they cost pretty serious money. And if every time Apple makes an update, it's just going to wipe out those products anyway, I don't want to pay for it. I mean, if it's an experimental thing, whatever, you know, you don't pay for that stuff. And to me, an OS that constantly breaks its own software or working setups is an experiment. So anyway, I tried Black Hole, which worked for some things but not others. I think I tried them all, but it really, it wasn't any better. And we had the same problem. I tried the aggregate thing. That's pretty cool, actually. But I guess you could do that in Wasapi and Windows. But anyway, just like every time these Mac myth cultists say something, this has turned out to be just as crap as anything else. But I'm gonna check out the Rogue Amoeba one. I know it's expensive, but if it works, that's cool. Let's try it out. I'll be reporting on that next week. And then finally, for this last thing, and I'm going to try not to get DMCA'd for this, but I want to talk about it. My old favorite thing, Tonewood. And this is Dylan Talks Tone. And one of the claims that you'll always hear when it comes to the Tonewood debate is even if they will admit that it doesn't really matter on an electric, there's going to be a problem in acoustic guitars. That's what they're going to say. So the acoustic guitars are going to completely break the paradigm, or break the having different tone woods is going to have a very different sound. It's not what an electric guitar is, which is really a motor. I mean, it's more of a motor paradigm. That's why I used that stupid paradigm word. Sorry for using the paradigm word. Anyway, acoustic guitars are going to be much different depending on the species of wood. And I think most people know at this point, though, that it's not really going to be the species of wood, because you could have a pretty light piece of maple or a pretty heavy piece of maple. I don't think species, I don't know, maybe people still think species matter, so actually I should shut up about that. But let's see what Dylan Talks Tone has to say, and if my volumes are weird, let me know.
What is going on, everybody? Today we are going to dive into fairly controversial waters.
Should I double speed this? Let me know. Type something in the chat if I should or speed up the thing.
Because after all this carbon fiber / wood / whatever kind of stuff that I've been doing lately, there's been a lot of conversation in the comments about electric guitars versus acoustic guitars and how they make their sound and tone wood and stuff. But this is not the normal conversation about tone wood. Let's get into it.
So this is Dylan Talks Tones channel. I'm sorry that I just skipped that, but I don't know. Sorry. I just want to get it into the meat. I like this channel, but I like so many of they can be long and verbose, and I know I can't talk because I do these rambling live things, but man, we've had a thing lately where a lot of people seem to be making stretchy videos just so they got time. Like every time something comes out, everybody got to post on it, but it's like content for content's sake. This isn't. This is something that I know people keep talking about, so this is great.
So first of all, I'm in the van. We are in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
Oh, cool.
On the beach.
Cool.
You can hear the ocean. You can hear the birds. I know some people get annoyed by that, but for the rest of you that
Ooh. Okay, let me make sure you guys are hearing this. Sorry about that.
You're welcome. It's pretty sweet. All right, so let's chat a little bit about Tonewood and acoustic versus electric guitars. Not does Tonewood matter. We're going to talk about the difference between how an electric guitar works and how an acoustic guitar works, and why that matters in this conversation.
I'm going to go out on a limb even before any of this thing that if the material makes that much of a difference anyway, it's going to be down to density and stiffness. It's not going to, like, you could take two completely different woods or whatever. If they had the same density and stiffness, I'm betting they're going to sound exactly the same.
Now, I don't have an acoustic guitar with me today because we're on the road. This is actually one of my customers' guitars that I'm picking up and doing some little maintenance on. I actually built this guitar for him probably 4 years ago, something like that. And he wanted me to do a couple little things to it. And so I picked it up from him this weekend when we visited the guys at Casino Guitars in Southern Pines, North Carolina. So met him up there. So we'll talk about electric guitars and how they work in a minute. We're going to use this as a little bit of a prop. Acoustics. An acoustic guitar and an electric guitar are not the same. They don't work.
All right. So here's the thing. So I'm not sure what he's going to say here, but acoustic guitar and electric guitar are not the same. In a lot of ways they are, a lot of ways they aren't. And I think the one that's going to matter here is the electric guitar. I'll say it again. It's a motor. You're converting the string energy into electricity through the pickup. It's not, but the acoustic it gets louder because like if you took a neck off an acoustic, I think it'd be super quiet. I mean, if you didn't have the big body, I think the body, I mean, it's just like a drum, right? It's going to resonate different, the size it is and everything. So it is a very different type of way to generate the sound, but still strings. But let's see what he has to say.
Work in a minute. We're going to use this as a little bit of a prop. Acoustics. An acoustic guitar and an electric guitar are not the same. They don't work the same. They don't make sound the same. The acoustic guitar is basically kind of like a drum. So obviously,
like we said, right?
Let's back up a minute and talk about sound, how sound works. It's just air moving, right? Like my vocal cords are making air move. That's making sound waves travel through the air, literally travel. They get to your ears if you were sitting in the same room with me, and they would vibrate stuff and you would hear it. So it's literally moving air. An acoustic guitar is exactly the same thing. When you pluck the string on an acoustic guitar, it actually vibrates the soundboard. Okay, so the soundboard of the guitar moves up and down at a particular frequency. That moves the air inside, so that moves a little, but then inside the guitar moves more air. It actually amplifies the amount that's moved by just the string, then the soundboard, then inside the guitar, and of course that's all tuned by the stiffness of the braces and the type of...
I mean, have you ever taken a guitar, just like held it up against the wall or whatever? Ooh, okay, so pretty quiet, but if I were to touch the neck to like a piece of wood, I don't know if you can hear the difference, but it's dramatically louder there. You know, and that's not even an acoustic.
Wood and how stiff the wood is and how thick the wood is to how much air moves when the soundboard moves and basically puffs out the sound hole.
So he's saying like I was thinking, how stiff is it? And if it's too soggy, it's not going to be loud enough too. Like there's got to be a range.
As you are also aware, sound comes from all sides of an acoustic guitar because it will vibrate the back, it will vibrate the sides, and it kind of works all in concert. But really, an acoustic guitar is a drum. You pluck the string, it moves air, just like if you were to strike the top of a snare drum, it moves air, that moves more air, and that's what we hear. When we are putting together an acoustic guitar, engineering an acoustic guitar, you look at like McPherson, for example, super engineered in the way it works and how it works. We've got a video on that. The idea is to decide how much air is to be moved and how accurately, because the whole point of all of this is to, when we pluck the string and we hold our fretted note a certain way, right? And we pluck the string, we want to duplicate that sound to our ears the way we meant it to happen when we plucked the string.
Man, this all makes a lot of sense, and I'm actually hearing some stuff I didn't know before. But what I do fear is that a lot of the traditional guitar schools, the Lutherie academies and things, they definitely teach myths about electronics and wood and stuff. So I wonder, do we really know this stuff? But I have a feeling it's true. I mean, if I put an ukulele body on, you can get pretty much the same acoustic, and they sound pretty drastically different with different shapes. So just like drums, I mean, there's no reason to think that's not true. I mean, because we definitely know that with drums, right?
So with an acoustic guitar, that's what you do. When you pluck that string, you vibrate that top, you move that air, and the goal of when you build an acoustic guitar, for an acoustic guitar builder, is to be able to do that in such a way that it conveys the movement of air to your ear. Now, when we put a pickup in it, that's a...
Now, it seems like if there's too much, if it's too smeary, you almost could have that one note bass problem. If like, I never really thought about that accuracy thing before, you know, so it's, I wonder if that's really what makes some acoustics so indistinct when it comes to note. That's very interesting.
Whole nother story. And if you want to know about acoustic pickups and how they work and the different types, please let me know. Put it in the comments and I'll make a video. But right now we're talking about a completely acoustic guitar moving air. How does wood and the building materials of an acoustic guitar come into play? The stiffness, the thickness, the density, All of those things really matter. Really, really matter in an acoustic guitar.
I mean, you're basically turning your body into a speaker, right? Or your guitar body into a speaker. So I imagine, but again, it's not going to be a species of wood. It's going to be, you could use this. I mean, don't they use like softwoods most of the time anyways?
Because
that's our new.
How much the top moves has a direct effect on how much the air moves. How much the air moves has a direct effect on our ears. Now, let's move it over to an electric guitar. An electric guitar does not move air. An electric guitar changes, it's a transducer, okay? And in fact, the pickup right here is called an electrical transducer. What transducer means is when you take one type of energy, in this case, the kinetic or motion energy of the string, and we convert that energy into an electrical impulse with the pickup. The vibration of the body of the guitar and all that stuff, well, we'll get into that in a minute, but it is not the main goal of how an electric guitar makes sound. And you're like, you're full of crap. But really, it's true. When I pluck the string, you might be able to hear it a little bit. Right? You hear it a little bit. Because that is the little bit of air that's moving from the string, and you can hear it.
And that's
I put it up right to the microphone.
It's really a little.
So you could hear. That's the little bit of air moving that the string pushed. Now you're hearing it. But to make it loud, so the people in the back row can hear it, all you people in the back can hear it, we need to take that energy and convert it to electrical energy and then transfer it to another device that takes the electrical energy and converts it back into more moving air. The amplifier. So, how do we do it? We take the pickup, we pluck the string, the magnetic field that the string resides in wiggles, sort of like if you were to stick your finger in a bowl of Jell-O and just go like this, kind of wiggles the whole thing, because you think about this like you've got this like blob of Jell-O over your pickup, which is the magnetic field. Dumb analogy, I know, but
yeah, it's actually
anyway.
I know it's hard to wrap your mind around it, but a magnetic field is pretty wiggly looking thing usually when you see these, right?
It vibrates. That's a loose way of saying it. It actually moves within that magnetic field. That creates an electrical impulse in the pickup. That goes to the amp. That electrical impulse gets made bigger by the preamp and then bigger by the power amp, then gets converted back to kinetic energy with the speaker, pushes air, and you hear with your ear.
You hear is that sparrows behind them? Where's the birders at? I think they know which ones are which, right?
The goal of an electric guitar is not to move through vibration of kinetic energy. That is not the goal of an electric guitar. And you're going to say, yeah, but bro, like the resonance, bro, like totally. Like when I strum it, I can feel it in my body. Now it may do that. And that may be a side effect. You're right. Because what we're doing is we're introducing a transverse wave into the string that goes down the string and comes back and down the string and comes back and down the string and comes back. And when it stops, the end of the sustaining period of that, the note stops. But it doesn't stop because the motion of the guitar stops. It stops because the motion of the string stops in the magnetic field. Now, this is where things get a little murky. Because you might say, well, yeah, but the wood in the guitar affects the tone because... Okay, we're not going to go super deep into that today. We're going to talk about a couple of things that are really, really important to this that you need to do on your guitar, on every guitar, to make sure that you're getting the best tone, no matter what it's made of, out of your guitar. And then we're going to talk a little bit about hollow bodies because that's kind of a middle area of all of this. So, what we want to do when we pluck the string is, again, we want it to be as accurate as possible, right? I pluck the string and I want the sound that I expect to hear to come out the other end. The way we do that is we make sure that our guitar is set up properly. The most sustain is not going to come from some exotic wood that cost $1 billion. It's going to come from a correct break angle of the string over the bridge. It's going to come from the nut being properly set up. Because remember, we're dealing with kinetic energy. Anytime we have a buzz or any kind of vibration, extraneous vibration that's not supposed to be there, any kind of string buzz, any kind of fret buzz, any kind of nut buzz where it gives you that little zzz or that little sitar kind of sound, or those little rattles that you get in your bridge, all those little things are energy that is wasted when we...
I mean, that's what we always say, right? In anything, you know, that if you're dampening, you know. It's interesting, that break angle thing. I'd like to know more about this. I used to hear about it a lot, and it was said by the same people who really spouted a lot of nonsense. So I kind of ignored it, but maybe I should listen.
Pluck the note. Any energy that's wasted is now lost forever, and it's not in the note that we intended to make. So the number one most important thing we can do to make the tone of our guitar good, no matter what it's made of, is to make sure that our nut is properly cut, to make sure that this angle here is properly done, which is guitar design, and we don't a lot of times have, you know, handle on that, to make sure that our bridge doesn't have any rattles in it, to make sure that obviously our pickup as well doesn't have any rattles in it. We don't want any rattles in the guitar. We don't want any buzzes. We don't want any bad fretwork. A good guitar setup is going to be the number one most important thing to make sure that the kinetic energy that you introduce into the guitar gets accurately portrayed as electrical energy and then back into kinetic energy to make sound. So we've got that. We've got an electric guitar. We know how it makes sound. Acoustic guitars move air. Electric guitars convert kinetic energy to electrical energy. That's all they do. You can paint them whatever color you want. That's all they do. What about semi-hollow bodies? Because you know that a Les Paul sounds different than a 335 with the same pickups, the same scale length, and everything else.
That's
the easiest way or simplest way.
Is that true? I thought so too, but now I don't think so.
The way I could say to explain this is, when we move the string and the pickup doesn't move, the string is moving by itself, but the pickup is not moving, we get a particular duplication or a conversion of the kinetic energy to electrical energy. If we were to pluck the string and the pickup moves in relation to it, but not exactly the same as
that's could be
we get
true.
a different picture
We're
of
gonna
electrical
have to test
energy
this.
from the kinetic
This makes
energy.
sense.
Because we've got two different kinetic energies now doing two different things. The pickup is moving and the guitar string is moving. That is, and I'm not saying that doesn't happen in an electric guitar, but it is further magnified in a hollow body, because the way the pickups are mounted in the guitar, especially something that doesn't have a center block, this is so much more pronounced, that the pickup is actually moving and the string is actually moving. So I'm not saying it's better or worse, but it changes the relationship between the kinetic energy of the string, and now we have this second motion of the pickup.
Interesting.
So
that could be. I mean, so that, yeah, I don't know. I just never really thought about that. That's a very good point. That the pickup and body moving on the 335 may change how the string converts electrical energy.
Also, why it causes feedback more, but that's a whole nother video. If you want to talk about what causes feedback in a guitar, let me know in the comments, and we'll make that video.
That's what we always think about 335s, right? Is the feedback.
But hollow bodies are a little bit kind of in the middle ground there, and you can really affect the more wood you take out of a guitar. And I'm not talking about like when you route a neck pickup in here. I'm talking about like big pieces. Like if this whole thing was hollow all in here except for just this middle piece, it would change the guitar for sure. And
would it? I think we got to back that up.
The more you take out of the guitar, the more possibility for there to be change. Now, chambered stuff, if it's engineered properly, I don't know. But there you go. Acoustic guitars are not electric guitars, and vice versa. I hope you enjoyed this little chat. Let me know what you think in the comments. Please be nice about it, because I know.
Yeah, I'm watching his chat right now where these people are like telling me these you're wrong. Okay, I thought this was going to be this crazy thing where he said that different species of acoustic guitars sounded different, but or would. But no, so it's actually pretty educational. I'm going to try and get, for next week, I'm going to try and think about this breakover angle and do some tests on semi-hollow bodies. So I guess that's it for this week. Yep, I'll see you guys next week. See you later.